Hey, so welcome back to part 2 of Mary's story. Thank you for clicking on this link again. I really appreciate it. So in this episode, Mary will take us through how her co-parenting experiences largely have been. What are the lessons she's learning along the way? What are the best practices? What are the do's and don'ts? What are some of the things to avoid? How do you deal with sometimes the frustrations that come along with co-parenting? You know, how do you split the bills? Who does what? Who takes care of what? Do you need to just have a formal agreement, or is it very important for you just to, involve a lawyer? Do you need to have a legal agreement? And at the same time, how do you deal with the emotions, especially if you still think you have hopes with this your partner, if you still think this relationship is not completely over, but the signs are it's over and you need to move on. So where is Mary at? She tells us her experience. Remember, this is Mary telling us her story from her own point of view, what she has experienced. This is her own story in her own words.
So those are the thoughts that were going through my mind. Like, I felt like I was such a burden and my baby is such a burden. I need to lift this burden by whatever means. So my mom was like, okay, saa formula mimi sinunui tena. Maziwa ya ng'ombe tuna dilute. Mtoto anakunywa. So that's what we did. And my baby had to be weaned before 6 months because no milk.
Yeah.
And baby needs to still grow, right? Demands pia ziko juu because pia yana grow. So we started weaning him kauji nini, kajuice nini hivyo. That's how my baby grew. All this time, I'm straining myself in school. Because I need to finish. I need to graduate by 21. Nilikuwa nimejiambia na graduate 21. Ukiwa 21 you have to have your bachelor's. It doesn't matter how. Tunangangana mpaka tuipate. There's no way we'll go behind what our life was supposed to be like. So, ngangana. That's what I did. So I'd work myself out. Go for classes. Still pushing through. Mpaka nijipate. My units are done by the time watu wana graduate na sitaachwa na class ya 2016 yenye tulikuwa tunafaa ku graduate pamoja. I pushed myself. All this time, a baby is struggling with his nannies. Inafika mahali, my mom would even take days off. Anaangalia mtoto. Sometimes we'd take the baby to my auntie. Anamwangalia, mamangu anamchukua jioni. It was such a hassle. Now this time I'm even texting his dad. Mimi nimekasirika. Jumi, I'm like, bruh, do you know how much I'm suffering with this child? Yet you could have been here to help me. Now I'm doing this by myself. It's like, so what do you want me to do? Do I come and live huko Mombasa? Mbona kuja toka hapa kwetu? Hautafukuzwa. Come stay here with me and help me because things are not easy, and I can see how my mom, she's just giving herself to this child, and it gives me some big challenge because you and your baba mtoto, why are you not doing this? Yet my mom is doing these things. Why? And we'd always just end up tumekosana zaidi because
it's getting better.
Things were getting worse. Sasa anaona huyu dem nini ananipea stress. Like, how am I supposed to live while nikuja nikae queen? How am I supposed to live at your place?
And the solution is he providing?
Nothing. None. Zero. Like, okay, then tell your mama nitafutie msichana wa kazi. Like, okay, sawa, nimemwambia. Alipata. Hajapata. Alipata. Now, I'm not getting any help from his side. Not financially, not nothing. I'm literally doing everything and struggling, trying to balance school and living under my mom. I have to act right, and things were not easy, for sure. They were not easy. But then ukijua what your end goal is. I want to graduate, and I know, we have dreams, right? To graduate, I'll get a job. I know I'll get a job and I'll be able to take care of my child and I won't burden anyone. For me, burden was the word. I felt like I'm just burdening people with my problems. These are things that I brought to myself. I should be able to solve them out. Why am I letting other people handle my stuff? That's how I kept feeling. You having people clean up your mess. Why? It's your mess. Deal with your mess, But then now, there's no one doing that. Sindio. I have to try and just keep pushing, right? Yeah. When my son was starting school, well, I've been this girl who has been very persistent, because I still held on to, we can redeem this. Yeah, I was still very hopeful. We can redeem this. Kafika mahali nikaona, hey, I think sitakwi. Can we now think of co-parenting? I think sasa hiyo tu ndio option imebaki. Can we do co-parenting now? So I asked him about that. Na akasema, okay, there's no problem. Of course, me, I still have very many leftover feelings for him. Yeah. So nikamwambia, okay, so let's try with co-parenting. So he even helps me look for a school for my baby. Tumetafuta, tumeangalia options nini, and I had settled on one, because we were even very late hata kutafuta shule. Tulitafuta a bit late. That time I think I was working, so I usually did not even have time. Haya, we settled on a school, and nikaenda nikafanya all the math, uniform, all the requirements, transport nini, and I gave him the math. Me najua napewa kitu. He did not give me money. Nothing, not even a coin. So he told me, sikuwa nafikiria mtoto anaingia shule hii term. So I thought next term. Like, kwani, why would I be rushing to get a school for him kama haingii shule sahi? So when I had such a reaction, I'm wondering, who says they don't have money for their child? Copper even. You know, it's a child's first day of school. That's the most basic thing you can have. So
and he's the one who had chosen that school. Well,
the choice he made had up until kindergarten level. They didn't have like other grades. So it was like, okay, that would just be a waste of money if we get him to that school. The other better option is this one, that at least imefika class 8, at least with this one, ata progress tu vizuri. Hiyo transition itakuwa easy badala ya tena changiwe shule. Nakasema, okay, ni sawa, it's also a good school. I agree the fee is like relatively the same, so yeah, no problem. Sawa, sawa. So we both agreed on that. Hey, so thank God I had savings. Thank God I had savings. So that's what I used. Then my mom akatop up. Moms. My mom topped up, and I got my son into school. I remember telling his dad, listen, mimi sijai fukuzwa na fee, and my child will not be the one anafukuzwa. It will not start with him. And the one, haingi na balance. There is no way, by the way, mtoto wangu anaanza shule na deni. It will not happen. Because if you set such a pace, imagine it's just day one, anaingia play school. Imagine what will happen in the other years. So it's like, it's not happening. So where kama it happened to you, I'm sorry, but to my child, not happening. And that's what I stood on my ground with. Tukalipa fee, but the dad showed up day one. No, we don't live together, right? So kila mtu na gari yao. We are escorting the baby, tukampeleka class. The school policy was jioni anafaa chukuliwe pia na wazazi so that wajue progress ya mtoto. Same thing. He came jioni with his car, us with ours. Tukachukua mtoto, amekuwa sawa? Okay, sawa. So things were very awkward. Yeah. This is not how I'd envisioned our relationship to end, ever. Because all I'd sit down and think of was how beautiful it could have been if we brought up this child together. How easy, uncomplicated, because this is a child we're bringing up. It's bigger than us, you know? But then I think that's something that, like when I'm hit, and maybe Jaime hit till date, because nothing much has changed. It's just the baby is not a priority for him. And it saddens me because the child knows him. So I think I'll mention about him knowing the dad, my baby knowing the dad. So my mom was against it. She was like, well, if dude is not doing anything, kwa nini amjue? And it made sense, but then at that time I was like, okay, I think I want him to know his dad. Like, I mean, I don't want my child to be those ones who don't even know who their fathers are, and I'm there now trying to lie. You know how people say aligongwa na lori ya mawe akakufa, oh sijui alienda wapi akauliwa. Like, I don't want to lie, you know. So how it happened was, his sister comes back from abroad, one of his sisters, and she has a child. So she's like, okay, I want the babies to get to know each other. Like, okay, sawa, I'm easy. So this time my guy is doing well. Aliomoka, finally. He's doing so well. He's living in a really good house. You know, it was like a penthouse. So he's living in this gated estate, and 3-bedroom house, all white inside. Wow. Nice couches, everything good. He's driving, he has a car now. Things are good. But he does nothing for us, right? So I used to hear, you know, people always talk, right? People that know us and people who still thought that we are together. People like, hey, anakanga sijui happy. Oh, okay. So now that was the first time I now went to his place. So the mom is the one who even picked me in town. Tukaingia kwa taxi. That's when my son saw now his other grandmother the first time. Juice. That time my son was around 2-3, heading to 3. So tukaenda, he didn't even know that I was going. Surprise, surprise. Guy sees us like, okay. Awkwardness in the house. It was cold.
His sister who had invited you?
Yes, not the guy. Okay. The guy has no interest. So he first saw our child when he was around 7 months. So that time, tumemfichia. Sha. Mama yuko. Okay, so my sister and I tumepanga, mama traveled. Na kwa narudi hiyo siku, okay, yeah, come see the baby. That was first time aliona mtoto around 7 months. That I was like, muone. Hakuoni yeye mwenyewe hata kujua. He's still a child, he'll forget. Haya, so this time I was still in campus. Then I'm now taking us back, right? Then I was going through so much emotionally. I think I was a bit depressed, and a friend of mine was like, yeah, you can talk to one of my counselors in school. Maybe atakuguide. So this counselor akaamua aongeze chumvi. That man should see his child. He has the legal right. What. One day anaweza amka akupeleke koti because you're denying him access to his child. Because you know me, I'm bitter. I'm going through all the emotions. So me, I used to tell him, hata akiniambia he wants to come see the child, I was like, you're not coming. You don't. Because ulituacha, acha ikae hivyo. So me, I used to say no. Why? Because I'm angry at him. I'm so angry that I can't have room for a yes. But then at the same time I was like, unafikiri ukikuja nitakufukuza? Si unajua mali nakaa? Kuja, mimi siwezi kufukuza na siwezi kukataza mtoi, but me, I'll tell you I don't want you to come see him because you might just disappear. And me, I don't want that. So now, the second time you saw him is when the child is like 2 years and something, heading to 3 years. And he's surprised, the baby is big, we've grown, nini. They were not relating very well, but eventually he just figured how to get his attention. They start relating. So sasa amemjua. They hung out for quite some time, a few times, before now the sister flew back. And when she flew back, kanyamaza tena.
So his sister is the one who used to try and encourage him to come to his son.
Yes.
So once the sister left,
that's it. Yeah, narudi default. So now the sister flew in again. Sasa ndio tena ako like, hey, mkwaje, hey, come, let's hook up, nini. That's when sasa anaona mtoto. Wanna hang out when she's around. The moment she leaves, hata yeye nika hata yameenda. It's like he also flies out. So these instances, me, I've not even told my mom. I remember my mom was against him seeing the child and knowing the child. But then for me, I'm like, no. Me, I want him to grow knowing who his father is because it's important for a child. Sitaki maswali zenye sitaweza kujibu nini. But then, I think now this ended up working against me because now the child knows the father, right? But then his dad is in and out. Now I have to now respond to the questions of where is he? When is he coming? When will I ride in his car again? When will he go visit this other place? When will I see my cousin? No, because he even met the cousin, right? Mom, sijui nini. And it became tougher for me to even respond to this question. So most times he'll just ask and I'll just ignore. Or I'll tell him, atakam. Ama ali travel, ile siku atakuja tu. Atakuona. You know, I have to think of something. No, I'm not answering the question of why is he, ama who is he. I'm answering the question of when is he coming again. So that went on up until when? So baby's in school. The dad, of course, is not even doing much. When he'd send school fees, most of the time it would be late. Then, so he saw the child. So I went now to China 2018. And that's when my sister now pushed him. So he's like, you know, now the child ni kama ameachwa akiwa orphan. Because no, you guys are not here. The mom, ameenda kusoma. You are around, but you are not around. Mind you, this guy does not even live far away from home. It's like, kienda sana 10 minutes drive.
Wow.
Yeah. So my sister akamwambia, no, you need to step in. At least he needs to have a parent who's around. It's like, okay, sawa, haina shida. So these discussions are happening in my absence, right? And he didn't even tell me. So now I started going home to my mom. Now, he met my mother the first time in 2018. You know, from the very first time he met her when we were telling her that I was pregnant. Things have changed, transformation on everyone's side, and things are just different. So he just tells my mom, I'll be coming to see this baby every other week. Mom's like, you're welcome, this is your child. At the end of the day, msiwezi kukataza mtoi. Like, okay, sawa, sawa. So me, I get to learn of it, and I text him and I tell him, siwezi kukataza ni wako. But I want you to take note of one thing. If you dare go against your word, ukisema unamuona every week, make it every week. If you dare go against that, you and I will have problems. It's like, I won't do that, nini. So he behaves very well. First weeks, very well, very loyal to his word until he starts missing. And I read after 2 weeks. I'm text, I heard ume disappear this week. Kwani, what's up? I got busy, I got held up. I'll go the other week. So vitu zikaanza kwa hivyo. Then this time now he went for a month. Like, brother, I will not talk about this again. This will not happen again. You either act right or you stop seeing that child completely. Options ni mbili. It's fine, I was just going through some financial stuff. I'm like, bruh, ni fair umekosa. Niweza kutumia fair. It's like, no, it's not that. Then what is it? It's okay. Next week I'll be there. Hizo sasa ndo ninapewa responses. Like, okay, sawa, haina shida. Aya. So he then goes off 2018. I remember 2018 December. So watoto wanaingia January kama kawaida. So I asked him, by the way, fee umepangaje? He never used to send me the money. He'd send the money to my mom. I don't know what he thinks I'll do with the money, but see, mimi nilikuwa natumiwa. And I was like, sawa, it's okay. They're going to the right person, because at the end of the day, when I'm short, it's my mom who will try and help me out. Yeah. So, so I asked him, so how much fee are you paying? Because I need to get things set before January ingie. It's like, so I'm paying half. I'm like, okay, what's your half? He does not respond. So nikamwambia, okay, you do this. I think I'm suggesting you do 3/4, because at the end of the day, we are the ones who take up more responsibility than you do, because we house the child, we feed the child, we clothe the child, because si tunanunua nguo or anything. Like, we do everything. So I feel maybe instead of doing half, maybe you should be doing 3/4, because hata mtoto akigonjeka, we will not call you to send money for hosi. Tutampeleka to hospitali, and we won't tell you to refund. So it's like, me, I don't have that money. Akaanza kuleta shida. So now his sister who's abroad even texts me and ananiambia ati why we are trying to burden the brother, yet he does not have that money and he's not stable. I'm like, burdening? I only requested if he's able to. I didn't even tell him you have to give me 3/4. Like, mi aliniambia hivi na hivi na hivi. No, that's not the case. I can never force him. Like, okay, sawa. So I again asked the guy, what's your half? So that mamangu anataka kulipa fia malizane. So that time alikuwa ameambia my mom he'll buy the requirements, whatever, you know how schools are. Yeah. Hizo requirements zimebaki, wameandikiwa, he'll do that, he'll buy the books, zenye umeitishwa, and then he'll pay his 50%. Like, okay, sawa, haina shida. So, my family comes back. That time they'd gone for vacation. So amerudi, some days not to opening, and the guy goes off. In 2019 ikianza. So he goes off. So I text the sister, I'm like, okay, your brother is not even responding to my messages. What's going on? Again, me, I'm abroad. I can't even I think I even tried calling direct. Hakuwa anashika hata simu. So me, niko hapo, okay. My mom anataka kujua kama fee shalipwa, so that asi overpay. Ka vitu zimebaiwa ndio asienda kubuy zingine and it's the same requirements, unaona. So the sister tells me hata tumezozana. I'll ask kama lilipa. So he goes off. Whole of 2019. Does not see the child. Does not do nothing. Whole of 2019. So 2020 is when now I decided, you know what? Me, I'm done with this family. With all of you. Juu hakuna mwenye ananisaidia na anything. Because I kept feeling, because even for the mom, we used to talk time to time. And I used to feel if she also wanted to really show her commitment in the simplest of ways, hata angekuja basi aone mamangu, something. Yeah. But nothing was being done from their end. Hata wakisema sijui hivi na hivi, there's no one who's still helping raising my child. Ni sawa ni wake. If he's not in a position to, can you guys help him? Because that's still his child. And siniwenu. But no one was doing anything. So me, 2020, ikaanza and I told God, you know what? I think it's about time. Me, I'm done with these stressors. It's been a whole year. He's been absent from my child's life. My child keeps asking me, where is that? Where is that? When is he coming? I have no answers, right? So eventually, I even delete numbers, nika block my WhatsApp. Then, one morning, it's just his sister, the one who's abroad, that had not blocked yet. So naamka asubuhi napata message. Nambia, hi, sasa mnaendeleaje? So the guy wants to send your mom money for school fees. Nambia, okay, sawa. Anaitisha namba ya mama yako. Like, okay, sawa. Me I send. Then at that moment, I'm like, why am I still entertaining this man? I'm like, but si mimi nimemuitisha. So, sawa tu. Yani, nilikuwa nimejikaanga mpaka najiambia, I think I should just send that money back. Why am I? Because now the moment I may contribute, he'll feel entitled to seeing the child or being involved. And yet, mimi nimwambia, by the way, buka mbali. So, I'm just like, but si mimi nilimuitisha pesa, so whatever. Itasaidia. 2020 is when I was graduating, so I was going to be coming back. So I now started talking to the guy, kiasi. Then he was like, okay, by then unarudi lini? Like August, September, I should be home. Like, oh, that's good. Nikamwambia, but I feel like it's about time we had an agreement, a written agreement on how to parent our child. Like, okay, sawa. Then I told him, but for me, the only agreement I'll write with you is you need to stay out of our lives 100%.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the only agreement I'm making with you, because you've done things that are not kind to the child. For me now, I'm looking at the perspective of my child. This is a child that knows the father, and this is a father who keeps going in and out. And that was messing my child's psychology a lot. And it's around that time that I even did an online course on the rights of the child. It's under some UN convention. So I really looked into that course with that mentality of, I can't keep having my child going through these things. He deserves a present father, a loving father, someone who can be relied upon. And of course, me trying to also heal from the inside out. I remember watching this sermon that was saying that how we view our earthly fathers is the same way that we'll view our heavenly Father. And for me, that gave me a big challenge, because how does my son perceive his father? One who comes when it's convenient, once in a while, doesn't keep his word, disappears, just not reliable. I was like, that is not how I want my son to view God as. God is consistent. He's ever available. He's just a call away. That's what I want my son to know about God. And if his father is presenting a different picture, I don't want that. I don't want him entirely. So that's a decision I made last year. And nikamwambia, for him, he was not happy with that decision, because like, I still want to be a part of my son's life. I actually want to come see him. So around that time, he even gifted our child with an amazing gift worth a lot of money. And he took it home, and I remember him asking if I was home. I was like, if the baby was home. I called my mom that morning. Then I started crying. I had so many emotions going on, because remember, this is a man that I have loved for so long, and I would really love to have a home with him. So it was not an easy decision to be like, you know what, I'm done. I don't want you in our lives anymore. That was a hard decision, but I felt it was the most appropriate and logical reason moving forward, right? For the sake of our child. Because for me now, it became bigger than I. There's what I'd want, but then there's what this in and out is doing to our baby, and I can't have my child going through that, because there's this thing that can even come out of it, spirit of rejection. Child feels not accepted. Now he wants to seek validation from things and people. And so for me, I was looking at the bigger picture of what effects will this have on my child moving forward. If the negative outweighs the positives, I don't want it, So, so that's what I told him. So then I came back home, and around end of the year, because my son was born in Jan, right? So around end of the year, so I'm here trying to plan for my son's birthday, and I'm like, it has to be a big birthday, okay, not like big, like celeb birthday, but a good enough birthday, something memorable. Because again, something about kids, it's about the small things that really count to them. So I was like, I want him to have like a memorable birthday party. Now that mommy is around, because I was not around for 2 of his birthdays. So like, I have to make this count. So I'm there, I'm straining, because I'm trying to like angalia my 2 savings. Then bado fee inaingia. I'm like, hey, this is a lot. I don't have money. So my sis is like, what we'll do? Ebu nipe namba ya baba yake. Hatutateseka bure, and he has money. So I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea, because the moment we allow him to take a part in this, he'll feel entitled. And me, I don't want him to keep feeling entitled, because he comes in and out as he wishes, and I don't want that. So I tell my sis, don't text him, but nikamtumia namba like, but don't text him. Hey, stangu nani. So she texts him like, oh, by the way, Mary is planning for your son's birthday party, and she needs a push. So help her. So the guy is like, okay, so I'll contact her. So we start talking. Like, okay, sawa, tunapanga birthday ya mtoi, sawa, haina shida. So what is required? It's like, okay, write your list. Let me know what you want. Then, yeah, we can meet and talk over that. Like, okay, sawa, haina shida. So I met him. That was last year. So this is, of course, not in my book, because the book came before that.
Oh, yeah.
So we meet, and we are both surprised at how much we've grown, and we are still beautiful. So tukaanza tu kuongea nini, then so I told him this is what I've planned, this is how much is required, and then for the fee this and this is going on. So before I came back, my mom had talked to me about changing the baby's school, because Alcona, he's training so much to wake up so early so that he can catch the bus. So it's like, I think we just need to change schools and bring him closer to home. It's like, okay, sawa haina shida. So we are planning 2 things, a birthday party and change of schools. So he's aware, the dad is aware. And I told him where the school is, and he got, because I always felt that it's important that I let him in on what's going on so that he cannot use any information against me. I'll be clean. So that's what happened. So I meet him, then we talk about that uniform, any other requirements. Like, okay, sawa. So how do we do this? Like, okay, so he's just like, okay, how about we just share out duties? Fanya himi nifanye. Okay, sawa, let's share out. So we gave our baby a very good birthday.
Wow.
It was amazing. Everything was a success. The dad showed up, and my son was happy. So all this while, when me and the dad met and are talking, my son is not aware. Because for me, I'm like, I can't even tell you that he's coming for your birthday. What if he just doesn't show up? You know, when someone is a bit trippy, you don't want to make promises based on their word, because you can never be too sure. So my baby saw him that time, 2021, right? Since 2019. Yeah, that's when they met. And so they were not bonding really. There was some tension between them, I could tell, because my son is not sure on how to relate with his dad. Not sure, should I go say hi? I think he even said hi to him, and my son he walked away or something. Like, there was just a lot of awkwardness, because this is like starting afresh. I've not seen you since 2019. I'm now a whole 2 years older. What do we talk about? And it was a very sad thing, just watching that from my son. At the same time, he's excited, but then he seemed more confused than excited, because he's wondering, how do I engage with him? And even for the dad, I could tell he's also wondering, like, this baby is all grown up, he knows things, how do I engage with him? But eventually the birthday goes on very well, and we also do the whole school fee thing. We actually went to school together, bought uniform together, and somehow had the child settled in. So January, we decided to write an agreement.
Okay.
Right?
That is January 2020.
This year, yes. So we decided to write an agreement, and we're like, we are doing this in the presence of a lawyer. For me, I was very strict. I was like, I'm not messing around with you anymore, and I will not let you mess around with my son. So he's mine. I am the mother. I'm the one to make decisions that are good for him. As long as he's not 18 and he's living under me, I call the shots. So we are doing this in the presence of a lawyer. So I decided to make it not too tense, right? So I got a friend of mine who's a lawyer. It's like, okay, sawa, let's meet. So we met. He showed up. Actually, like, imeleta shida, he was not agreeing to that. Like, why do we need a... My swali was like, okay, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do it, right? Me, I don't really need you. You know that, right? We can live without you. So, tusizozane, please. If you want to do this, let's do this and do it the right way. If not, tusahau. Okay, sawa. So eventually he was like, okay, sawa, whatever you want, let's do it. Tukamit. And my friend akatusaidia now formulate our terms. The guy was doing most of the talking, and he was confident about what he wanted. I'll be doing this, I'll be doing that. Let's do this 50-50. I'll handle this, tukamaliza kuandika, just drafting. It's like, okay, sawa, this seems like a plan. Yes, it's a plan. Okay, sawa. So he actually drops us home, and I had some time not to talk to my friend. She was like, he seems like a really good guy. What usually happens? Like, me, I don't know. Something happens, but I don't know what. But I know he's an amazing man. So she's like, okay, sawa. So I really hope that he actually keeps his word on this. Like, I do. I hope for the same. Let's just wait and see. So he becomes a bit disciplined. And this year, every Friday, he used to pick up the child. Every Friday, sometimes Saturdays. Anamchukua, they go hang out kwa mall, anacheza nini, anamleta jioni. But Fridays was a thing. He was one who used to pick him up from school. Then they go grab ice cream or whatever they want. Wanna hang out too, then anamrudisha home. So unaona there's the creation of some sort of a relationship coming up, right? And we now started talking about when do we now start having sleepovers. Like, okay, we'll figure that out. You know, my girlfriend is still around, but I'll figure something out, an arrangement that will enable now the baby to be comfortable. Because again, we agreed that our baby should never meet any of the people that we date unless watu wamerashia and things are official. If not happening. Yeah. So that was something that I was very strict about. And I noticed he was on the same page with me. So we decided to do that. We had the agreement drafted, we signed around Feb. But then around March, vitu zikabadilika tena. I know it's hectic. It's very hectic, trust me. March, akaanza na leo nimeshikana sitaweza kuchukua mtoto na Friday. Pick him up for me kindly. So naenda, and sometimes my son alikuwa nakataa kutoka, like mimi nataka babangu anichukue, and then ananichukuanga Fridays. I'm like, baby, he's at work today. It's okay, mom, atakuja next time. And no, it went on for a few of the Fridays. I'm like, okay, by the way, brother, I will not be picking that child on Friday.
The agreement that he'll be picking him every Friday.
That was more of the agreement said that according to what we agree, okay, the child should be. The father should have access to the child whenever.
Okay.
So that was part of our agreement. Fridays. No, that was more verbal.
Okay.
You know, us sitting and agreeing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, mimi niko okay, sawa. Kuna vitu zinabadilika hapa and I'm not happy. That's what I told him. I'm not happy and watch out. Sema okay, ni job nini. So this other time, yani kakwasa it's a thing. He's not showing up. Then eventually, he's not showing up. So I'm like, okay, I am done. Remember, this is a man, when he's taking my son out, akisema nakuja on a Saturday, I'd never tell my son your dad is coming. Whatever you say, and then he does not show up. So it's like, sawa. Akiniambia nishatoka home, niko kwa njia, that's when I'll tell my son, endo uoge. Because there is how he's portrayed himself to me as, and I was not going to put my son through a promise that will not be met, you know. So that's what happened with us. It was like, tukaenda hivi tena. And till now, we are in September, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He's not seen his child since I think that was Feb, March, around there. Does my son ask for his dad? He does. Does he talk about him? He does. And he's so proud of his dad. Like, dare you say anything like, you know, mjaribu kuwa a bit negative. Mi babangu, hawezi. He's so proud of his dad. And I usually look at him and I feel bad for him because he deserves better than that, right? He actually does deserve way much better. Someone who will love him in the same measure. And I know his dad, as he says, still loves him. He has a weird way of showing it. And I would never trash the dad to me. I never do that, ever. Tinamwambia bako, by the way. I still maintain that face that my son has towards his dad. Ile time atataka kumjua zaidi, si watajuana akisha grow. But then for now, it's just like, I never trash him because my son honors his dad so much. He loves him. He adores him. He's always looking forward to when he'll go visit him again, get to know his other cousins or whatever. He's always looking forward to that. And well, as a mom, I just have to be there, hug him, tell him that mommy loves you. Never forget that mommy loves you. And I'll also tell him, and your dad loves you too, okay? Story unamalizia hapo, because if you go beyond that, first of all, there's something like a slip of the tongue. Babies never forget. I might say something and then atashindwa, so for me, I usually just go quiet. Just tell them, alienda, but atakam too. Sometimes I ignore. And instead change the topic. Talk to him about something else. By the way, just change the topic, engage him, be more present. I think for me now, it calls for me to make double the effort as a parent, because if one side is not balanced, I have to try and balance them both. I have to play mom and dad. I have to make him get to that place where he does not question whether he's loved. He doesn't feel the need to seek for validation, because that's something that I always pray that he doesn't get to. Yeah, but he's doing okay. I know he misses his dad, but he'll be fine.
And maybe like phone calls, do you try?
No. For me, I was just like, you know what? I'm done. My son, of course, asks, oh, when will you call him? I actually deleted his number, and I don't know it offhand. He's ile ujinga ati delete na unajua. I don't know his number offhand. Yeah. So for me, I was just like, I'm done with this chapter, because again, this year made 7 years since him and I sort of parted. Yeah. And I was praying. And when the year started, I was very confused, because I started wondering, what is it that God wants to do through this? Because this guy is showing so much intentionality in being in our lives, not necessarily mine, but then our son's life. And I'm confused. I don't know whether he's here to stay, ama to change mind katikati. So when I was going through that, I started praying, and I was so confused. I'm asking God, unataka, by the way, I need to know, because I need to know where to cut the line. I just need to know what's going on, in this whole thing. Then now when things went the way they did in March, I was like, okay, akukwa na mpango. Because I told God, this is what I prayed over, and I told God, if you'd want us to get back together, I want it to be for your glory. You too. I want people to know that there is power in reconciliation, and people can actually go through whatever period of separation and come back. I want it to be a testimony to others, and a ministry in itself that is going to bring hope to broken homes, and that is going to bring healing to people. That's what if hiyo ndio mpango yako, I'm in. But if it's nothing that will bring you glory, I don't want it. Me acha nikae peke yangu. So eventually, see what happened in March happened. So then later is when, because I was so hurt, because we had the last conversation that I had with him revealed a lot, because it pointed to, I don't mean anything to him. That's what it pointed to, and it crushed me. So in that moment I was like, by the way, Mary, it's about time. Just let go of the thought of maybe you guys will sit down and agree and see things falling into place. Forget it. And I remember praying so badly that night, and the thing that I kept feeling in my spirit is, you're holding on to something that I want you to let go. You're not making room for something that I want to bring into your life. Make room. So in that moment, I'm like, hey, Mungu najua vile ni ngumu kuachilia that thought. Like, I've held on to that thought for 7 years. Crazy. 7 years. And then God was just like, 7, remember what 7 means? It means completion. It is done. Ni hivo. Umejipitisha so much emotionally with so much expectation. Let go. And in that moment, that's when nilisema, you know what? I'm making room for now exactly what God wants to bring, because I've held on to this thought for so long that I don't let any other guy come into that space, get too close to me. I don't think that I'll find someone who can love me the way that I was loved before, or that I loved the way that I loved this man. So that mentality had to just go. And it was not easy. I cried. And letting go is not easy. but I had to do it. Why? Because when something is taken away from us, that means there's something bigger and more beautiful that is trying to pave way. And if we keep holding on to the old, we'll never see the new that is supposed to be received. Because I feel like my hands were full. I'm still holding on. It's up until I release that I'll be able to receive something else, right? So it was not easy, but I did it. Now just hoping that that my son will be fine.
When you look back at when you were 19 years old, that's when you got pregnant.
Yeah.
Right now you're 26. It's been a whole 7-year journey.
Wow.
What would you like to tell that mom who things are just not going the way they expected?
I think I'll say, jipende. Jipende, mami. Love yourself. Put yourself first in that child that you have. Because my mom always tells me, a man that loves you will do anything to ensure that he keeps you. If the effort is not being reciprocated, but they don't waste your time. It's not easy, but your emotional health, your mental health comes first. If you're not whole as a mother, you bring up broken children. Is that what you want? You know, you need to be whole, sober as a mother first. Love you. If you don't show your child that you love yourself, you won't even teach them how to love themselves. And so they'll grow up seeking for validation left, right, and center. And I know these things are not easy. And I try not to be too harsh when it comes to because a child belongs to two people. But come to ataki mtoto ataki, you really can't force them because we're not dealing with children, we're dealing with adults. And if someone wants their child, for sure, they will do anything and everything to ensure that that child is growing up well. Hamtasumbuana, hamtavutana. You won't every day be calling, I need money for what? And I know people do this whole blended family thing, which is also a thing that I always felt would be possible for me if, you know, my son's dad decided to, you know, be a good father. And it was very scary because that means your child is torn between two homes. And one family could be treating them so well, especially the one that does not live with them, because now they have to make up for that time that they don't stay with you. Now you'll suffer, you the one that's staying with the child, because you the one who disciplines, when unamjua vizuri, when una-ensure na grow vizuri. So these are things that sometimes are not widely spoken about. But I think also talking to another mom about what you're going through is very important. If you can afford counseling services, do the same. Therapy, whatever, just try. And try Jesus. He works. He does. Because there's a peace that gives you. But I'd say keep growing. Don't get stuck. Just because things didn't work out does not mean that the future is not going to get any brighter. Doesn't mean your child is stuck at whatever years that they are at. They'll keep growing. So you need to get to that place where you recognize that time is moving. Don't get stuck. Develop yourself. Grow yourself. Do you. Love you. Take care of you and your child. Let that be your priority. Everything else comes as a bonus. If the guy will want to be there, then sawa. If unaona ina affect mtoto, make it clear. Make it very clear to him, I don't want you to do this anymore because you've been messing this up. If now you want to even establish things even better, go to court then. There are people who are very much interested, and whatever's are genuine, their intentions are genuine. When they come back to themselves and they want to do things better. We need to give people, of course, that opportunity. If someone is serious and they've come back to themselves and they want to do better for their children, maybe wamepata character development mahali, wamekuja, they are changed. So we also need to spread that grace. And I think for me, that's what I've been doing for so many years, spreading that love and that grace, extending it to him because I don't know what he's going through in that season. Amekuja, maybe he's serious. I give him the opportunity, but I think on a chicken out like, acha niende. But then there are people who actually come back and they stay and they become so responsible. They become the best that anyone could ever have perceived them to be. And so they need to be given an opportunity. But if that is the case, since the child comes first, not you, your feelings or whatever, let it be legal, stamped in court. Ours was more of an agreement between two individuals. Yes, in the presence of a lawyer, and she even, you know, stamped it, signed it and all that. But then it was not legally binding in the fact that I could go to court with it because we didn't do it from court. But then if you feel that this man is worth that time and you really want him to be in the child's life and he's serious about it, hamtazozana, he'll do that. But you need to know when to let go. Ukiona you're the one who's putting in the effort, it's not two-way, jipe, because you'll just be emotionally drained and that will reflect on your children, because the children always have a way of sensing when things are not okay, and especially when the mother is not fine, and you'll be transferring negative energy to those children and it will not be good. So yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've learned something, and you don't necessarily have to be in Mary's specific situation to have learned something from it. Also, maybe you have a colleague, a sister, a friend, a relative, a neighbor who's going through something that you think by watching Mary's story they could learn from, they could gain from. It's something we can all share with each other, and I know you have learned. I hope you've learned something rather from Mary's experience. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you watching and supporting this channel. And in case you want to buy Mary's book, you want to buy it for somebody, by the way, it's just a very, very good read that I would encourage you to read yourself or to buy for somebody, especially if it's a young girl. If you have a relative, a niece, or somebody who's in college, I think it's important for you to buy it for them. I'm leaving Mary's contact details below. You can grab a copy for yourself. Just reach out to her and grab a copy for yourself. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.